Okay, welcome. This is Stephen Ramsden, the director of the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project. Let me get this noise out of here, sorry. Okay, my bad. And we are going to do some live solar broadcasting of the sun in different wavelengths of light. I am located in Atlanta, Georgia, at 34 degrees north, about 84 degrees west. And I appreciate you guys joining me. Right now, we have let me share my desktop for you. All right. We are using Astro IIDC and a Lunt Solar Systems LS152 double stack scope, the 1800, and a point gray camera. And we are showing the sun. And stand by just a minute. I'm going to switch out cameras real quick. And if anybody wants to get into the green room, you can just go back to Facebook and get that link. And you can come join the hangout and talk with us. You don't have to just watch it on YouTube. There's a link for the green room in there. Okay. Just one moment. Okay. Sorry about that. Let me switch around the cameras. You can see it's a beautiful day here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm starting my Astro IIDC software, and then I'll share that screen in just a moment. Everybody stand by. All right, there we go. Okay, so let me share this screen. This stuff is complicated. Sorry about the delay. At least you get to see me for a while. I am quite handsome. That's what everyone says. I don't have Rob Black here with me, so I'm not getting it as smoothly as I would like to. Okay, there we go. Now, this is a very overexposed disk from the Lunt Solar Systems LS152. Let me get it into the center of the screen, and then we'll get the exposure set properly. Looks like there's some, oh, look at that nice prom down there on the bottom. Fantastic. I will press my guider now and keep it on that. And let's get the exposure set. I think my neighbors are arguing. I can hear them all the way here. Okay, so now I'm going to adjust the tuners. And I have a double stacked Lunt Solar Systems LS152. And it has two tuners on it. And let me adjust the tuners while everybody watches, and we'll get it to where it looks good. Okay, this is going to take some gymnastic ability on my part to reach these tuners, but here we go. All right. See the exposure changing as I tune. That's common. The image is getting brighter with the tuning of the Etalon. Let's put it back down to just there. All right, and we'll keep tuning. Let's try this one. See what it does. That's a little too much. Let's come back out. I don't know if you guys can hear my neighbors screaming or not, but they're apparently having a really big fight. Okay, so let's tune pretty good. Now we will do some gamma adjustment and some focusing and get it just right. All right. Okay, so this is with the camera set on gamma 1, or the medium gamma setting. It looks like there may even be a flare going off down there on the bottom, a small flare. Hang on. All right, let's get the camera turned the other way. Just one moment. Okay, I'll have to check SDO to see if that's right. But in the meantime, let's turn the gamma up and check out the prominence at the left side there. Pretty awesome. Okay, that's on gamma 0.4, which in my case with Astro IIDC is more sensitivity with the camera. So I'm going to go ahead and take a movie here of 500 frames and save that so I can stack it later. Now, if I can get my external hard drive to work. All right. There we go. All right, let me go in here and delete these. Hey. Whoa, what's up? Yeah, convention going on. Where's Martha? She inside? Oh, hey, come here. Let me tell you something. George and his girlfriend are having a fucking knockdown drag out over there, and they're screaming and throwing shit right here in this house. Yeah, just listen as you walk by. Okay, sorry about that. There we go. Now let me see if I can figure out a way to open the chat window. Okay, the chat window is open on Google, but maybe I need to do that on YouTube. I can't really do it on YouTube. So if you want to ask a question or chat or anything, you need to just come into the green room. And I see we've got a couple there. There's Keenan Arnautovic from Sarajevo, and Steve's on from Australia. Hey, Idaho, my bad, sorry. And you guys are welcome to unmute and join in the conversation if you like. Howdy.
Morning, Steve. I
Are
wish
you,
I'd rather be outside looking through mine, but it's too cloudy here.
well, this is better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah,
This is one of the weird days lately that we've had a beautiful blue sky. They're expecting snow tonight here, so I'm getting it in while I can.
Yeah, I told Kathy this isn't a star party. This is the star party.
Yeah, there's only one star. And I'm just finishing up this video run, and then I'm going to turn the gamma down and we'll look at the surface features. Well, we got a couple nice prominences on the left and right, and I'll stick in a 3 or 4x Barlow here in a moment and get a close-up view.
I heard you say something about a flare. I wasn't looking at the screen. Where do you see a flare?
Well, I don't. Can you see my mouse pointer?
Yeah, I can see that now.
That is a little crackling area, and when we turn the gamma down, you'll see how much brighter it is. Let's go down here like this. It's just maybe an Ellerman bomb or maybe just a tiny C-class crackling. There's also one right here. These are brighter than normal, and that is a very, very tiny area. And I say tiny, I mean it's about the size of the moon. The white, of course, represents hotter plasma. And the dark bands here are prominences, of course, that you're looking at from the top down. They're called filaments. And then these moderately white areas are called active regions. And I don't mean to tell you things you already know, but just in case somebody else is watching that doesn't know this.
Sure.
So let me take a couple of...
Teach it, brother.
I try.
Are we looking at an orange or?
Yes, this is an orange from my produce cabinet. It's got a little fungus growing on it. This is an 880,000 mile wide orange. With an internal temperature of 27 million degrees and a surface temperature of 10,000 degrees. So it's a sauteed.
It's a Megan Fox orange, is what it is.
Could be. So
it's good to be able to join you for one of these again after having to be at work for every other one for the past 8 months.
Glad to see you, man.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
The plan for this broadcast is to take some videos with full disk H alpha and then go in and zoom in on some features and then change it out to calcium K and zoom in on some features and then go to white light. And this is all using a Lunt Solar Systems double stacked LS152 and a point gray 6 megapixel grasshopper camera and a Mac Pro 17-inch with Astro IIDC, which is no longer available, but it is my choice for capture and stacking. A beautiful disc, as always. Let me go look at SDO and see what orientation we're supposed to have. I try to make sure my image is oriented properly north, but it's hard to tell. Yep, it appears it is oriented properly. Okay, just a guess from massive experience. Okay, I'll take one more here. And you're in Tucson or
Mesa. Yeah.
Mesa. Okay.
Phoenix, basically, yeah.
Yeah, it's crisp and clear here and cold. I'll be in Albuquerque next week for a week doing some work on a couple of pueblos.
Cool. You gonna be there next Sunday? Are you gonna be there next Sunday?
No, I will be there Monday through Friday, 22nd through 28th, I think, with Roger Kennedy, who runs the chapter out there for us.
So I got over to the ASU open house the other night and made a couple of contacts which might be very valuable. I got a hold of Meg Hufford, who is the coordinator for education and outreach at the School of Earth and Science Exploration. She loved the idea. I showed her the proposal and the video and stuff. I don't know why I didn't try and get a hold of her earlier, but made some contacts in the graduate community and with the Astro Devils, their astronomy club there. I was hoping they would have a positive viewpoint, so then they did. They all think it's a great idea, so they're all up on the chance to use a 30-inch telescope anyway.
I see Kenley Subers just checking. Kenley, why don't you unmute your mic and say hello to everybody?
Hello.
Hello, Kenley. Is your sister with you?
No, she's out with the family. Everybody's gone. It's just me.
Okay, so are we going to go to the Star Trek 50th anniversary?
Yeah. Yes, we are.
I don't even know when that is, and I don't know if I'll be out of the country or not, but I'm
I
happy
want
to
to go,
go there.
so I really want to go.
Kinley is a college freshman here in Georgia who we've helped along and tried to motivate a little bit. She's a brainiac and doing well. I was out to see Ben Jenkins and Robert Moore 2 days ago,
I saw that on Facebook.
and we're working up something else for you that we can't tell you about.
Me?
Anyway, yeah, this is my Lunt double stack 6-inch scope, and we've got the gamma turned up real high so we can see the prominences. And after this run, I'm gonna zoom in with a Barlow and try to get some closer views. So I appreciate that there are at least, let's see, we've got 6 viewers, at least 6 people who aren't stuck on the Super Bowl.
Ever since 2 weeks ago, I have no interest in it.
It's just an excuse for me.
Ever since 50 years ago, I have no interest in it.
Even the Falcons? Even the Falcons Super
No,
Bowl?
couldn't care less.
Couldn't care less.
I was a big boy in high school and college, and basically was told I'm playing football, and I had enough of that. Beating each other's brains out over some BS was something I wasn't into. But anyway, this has got 100 frames left.
You are the world's greatest pragmatist, Stephen. You really are. It is amazing. Yeah.
Well,
amazing.
every person I played high school football with, and every person who was on the college team, none of them did anything with their lives, and they're all broke now. So I figure you got about a 1 in 200 million chance of being an NFL pro, and about a 1 in 10,000 chance of being successful as a scientist.
There you go.
I'm just playing the numbers.
There you go. There you go.
All right, so let me get my Barlow out real quick. Everybody stand by. Whoever wants to talk, have at it.
I got a question. Can we cobble together an ETX 90 faux H2 telescope can we use a solar filter on one end?
You can use a white light filter, but you cannot get a hydrogen alpha through that scope. It would cost you more money than it would to buy an 80 millimeter Lunt.
Right. Okay. I didn't think so, but I figured I'd try and ask you if you could put a solar filter on one end and an H alpha on the other and get anything out of it.
No. Well, you can, but it'd have to be an Etalon. Nighttime H alpha filters have a 8 to 10 millimeter or nanometer bandpass. And you have to have a 0.5 angstrom bandpass to see the H alpha line.
Okay.
So you have to have about 80,000 times as narrow a bandpass in order to see H alpha.
Right.
I wish that were possible because it would be a lot cheaper.
So cobbling together a white light's the best we're going to do until we can afford a 80 millimeter Lunt or something.
Well, you can. I think you can. No, that's a reflecting telescope. It's not a refractor, right? It's a.
No, it's a little mini Schmidt.
Yeah. So you can't use the quark on that either.
Yeah.
All right. So here we go. Got a nice little close up here. Let me find my HUTEC guider, and we'll move it around a little bit.
Are you using the big rig, the 152s, I think it is?
Yes. Alrighty. Let's see what we can find here. This is a 3X Scrappy Barlow Celestron. Let's see what we got. And all this is on top of a Astrophysics AP 1200 mount. That's a nice view. Just get it centered. There we go. Yeah, this gives us a real nice view of the two little weird regions up here that are hot and crackly right now. These two things are very unusual. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that before. That
As
appears to
far as
be,
the linear nature of them, or
yeah, the linear nature and separated from each other. So either there's a filament going over the top of them and just blocking out that portion, or that's just some really weird features. Let's turn the
that
gamma
one
up a little bit so we
that
can
one
see
up
the
top almost
prominence.
looks like that one up top looks like it's like a circle with a squiggle. Almost looks like a stick figure.
Yeah,
That one,
I've seen
yeah.
that
See
a bunch
that?
of times, but I haven't seen this before. Those look like rabbit ears or something.
Oh.
All right, let me hit my guider so we can stay on point. I see Guy Wells is on from the UK. Welcome. And Keenan from Bosnia. Welcome. Okay, I'm going to take a few movies of this. That's pretty cool looking. And I'm imaging in high gamma, which is what I suggest everyone does. And then you take in Photoshop and just mask out the surface, and you can bring back down the surface to a higher contrast. But if you try to image and make it look like a finished image in the preview by having your gamma turned down, you're going to miss most of the data. So I use a really high camera sensitivity and turn the exposure up all the way until it starts saturating, and then back it off a bit. Kind of like adjusting the equalizer in your 76 Maverick when you had an 8-track player and an equalizer underneath it. You turn them all up until you start getting the red, and then you back off a little bit.
It works with MP3 players too. Same thing.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you're trying to play it through a car stereo, you turn it all the way up till it starts to distort, and then back it off one.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I do with my cameras.
Okay, that's good.
My Deep Purple Machine Head 8-track, I would turn up the bass, both ends of the equalizer, and the middle I would turn way down.
I was on a job the other day. It was this nightmare job. I was doing this install for like 5 hours, total nightmare. And I'm sitting there doing this install, and the guy's phone thing goes off. His phone ringtone goes off, and it's NIB. And I was like, hey, wow, that's awesome. Play that, let's hear some tunes, He was like this huge Black Sabbath fan. He'd never seen him with Dio or anybody else, just with Ozzy.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, my brother thinks that Ozzy Osbourne is the greatest entertainer that's ever lived. He has a stand-up. He's 8 years older than me, and he's also a retired controller. And he has a life-size stand-up of Ozzy in his living room.
You should see Lawrence Krauss's office at ASU. You walk in, and it is plastered with Star Trek memorabilia. There's a life-size Spock cutout and a life-size Kirk cutout in the corner.
I have those in my garage.
Do you?
All three of those, yeah. Dr. McCoy as well. All right, so let's turn the gamma down and get an image. See, this is a very unusual feature, and this circular feature is also pretty cool looking. So that's some cool stuff to see today.
Almost looks like a Mayan stick figure or something, doesn't it?
So I'm going to get a couple videos of that.
Maybe the
and just in case anybody here doesn't know, this is being recorded and will be saved on YouTube, so act accordingly. And anybody who wants to chime in is welcome to. And if you're watching on YouTube and you want to come join the party, there's a link to the green room on my Facebook Charlie Bates page and also on my personal page. And if you click the green room, you can join in with the rest of us here and talk to your heart's content. But let's keep it on the subject of today's solar astronomy. I think I'm going to turn the exposure up and take one more run with this. Now, as I turn the exposure up, you'll start seeing red pixels, and that means the camera is oversaturated, and that's where I back off. So let's turn it up. The first thing to oversaturate should be those two rabbit ears up there. There you go. Then I'm going to back off a little bit.
Does the oversaturation have a limit to where it would start causing damage to the pixel, or is it just
no? It just means that you are no longer collecting valid data in that pixel. It won't damage the camera.
Okay.
But I turn it up until one of the pixels registers 255, which is the max I have it set on.
Mm-hmm.
And that way I know that every pixel on the camera is getting actual data rather than just flooded white.
Right.
Okay, so there's the proms. I might take another one like that. That's pretty awesome. That prominence is going to look great in calcium K here in just a moment.
Well, wait. When you turn that way up, there was another filament, another prominence way out there, a big high one. Did you see that?
No, but I'll try that in just a moment. I don't want to change it right now because I'm recording. But the calcium scope will show prominences much longer duration than the hydrogen alpha. Because once the prominence erupts or ejects in hydrogen alpha, as it goes into the corona, it gets hotter. It begins to emit light at shorter wavelengths, so they last a lot longer in calcium than in hydrogen.
Yeah. So I was looking at building the Super Steven rig, just out of pure curiosity. The two LUT 152s, an H alpha and a CaK. And what do you use? What do you use for the white light? What would your recommendation be for a white light for the third scope on that?
A white light solar wedge, which is the cheapest thing they sell. A solar wedge.
What OTA?
The same one. I would. The LUT 152 will work in hydrogen, calcium, or white light.
Right, but it's an expensive OTA. Could we get by with a 101 or 102 or something like that? It's less expensive.
Well, yeah, you could, except that they don't. Yeah, you could do that too, but those aren't interchangeable. You'd have to buy a separate H alpha scope. The 152 is interchangeable between the three.
What I was thinking is like your rig, like a pair of 152s, one with a CaK and one with an H alpha, and then a third OTA, smaller one for white light.
Yeah, well, that's what I use in outreach, and I use 125 millimeter scopes, just 3 separate scopes.
So,
actually,
but the white light one you're using is another LUT. It's not somebody else's.
Yeah, I use a Explorer Scientific, a Skywatcher, and a LUT, all 3 of them. And to be honest, a cheap doublet is better in white light than a expensive triplet. So
really, why is that? What that is?
I don't know why. It just always is.
I just bought an expensive triplet and was thinking about getting a solar wedge for it.
It's not going to look bad. It's not going to look bad or anything, but the ED doublets that I've had have always performed better in white light for some reason than the same scope as a Super APO. Okay. And I'm using a Super APO Skywatcher for calcium right now. And I've had the best luck with cheap doublets with white light.
Okay.
I don't know why. I couldn't tell you. Sorry. I ain't no scientist. Well, actually, I am a scientist, but I don't know anything about that.
You're not an optician.
Right. I can make something up, though. All right, let's move around a little bit and see what else is going on. Let me turn my speed down.
Some kind of big prominence that appeared above that upper flare, upper prominence out there. It was pretty cool. It just appeared for a second as you changed the contrast, it looked like.
Yeah, I'll look around for that. Okay. Well, we're back to where we were, and I don't see that. It may have been a reflection. Let's look around the edge. Oops. That's a nice one. Might as well get an image of that while we're here. See if I can focus it a little better. It's amazing how the center of the disc and the edge of the disc require different focusing, because there's 500,000 miles difference in the distance. It may also be something slightly off parallel in my optical train, but that doesn't make as good of a story.
I always notice I have to make small focusing changes if I'm looking at proms on the disc or on the edge rather than
Yeah.
Looking at stuff, especially right in the middle of the disk.
We're getting some Newton's rings here from this crappy Barlow Celestron. Everybody's always asking what kind of eyepiece, what kind of eyepiece. Well, since this is only one wavelength of light, for H alpha and calcium, generally the cheaper the better. The Ramsden eyepiece works pretty good. A single element eyepiece works really good. When you try to get all that chromatic aberration stuff and the Naglers and all that, it just puts more glass in between you and the subject and tends to add distortion. But we'll make a run here. And the same thing with Barlows. Generally, the cheaper the Barlow, the better. Now, when you're doing white light, it's different because white light is a full spectrum presentation, so the chromatic aberration is a good thing. And if you're going to get white light, whoever that was, Steve, I think.
Yeah.
I would strongly suggest a Celestron or any brand Ratten number 58 green filter to screw onto your camera.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That is the best accessory for imaging white light that you will ever buy. So a cheap Celestron green number 58 filter. It doesn't look too good on the eyepiece because it makes everything green. But
yeah,
when you're imaging,
one of those.
Yeah, you probably do.
Tucked away in my old Celestron eyepiece box from years ago.
Green works really good because it filters out a great deal of the noise in the atmosphere. And really, the narrower the bandpass, the less atmospheric disruption you get anyway. So there's people that are, including me, that are highly recommending. Let me stop this recording. I got blurry for some reason. Highly recommending a sodium filter at 540 nanometers for white light rather than a white light wedge, strictly for the purpose of getting rid of the atmospheric distortion. A single wavelength is always less distortion than all the wavelengths. And, the sun puts most of its energy out in green and yellow. So you don't want to be in the green range because that's where most of the distortion is too.
What was the spec on the sodium filter you just mentioned?
I don't have any specs on it. It's 540 nanometers. It looks at the sodium D1 line. Mm-hmm. But nobody makes one. I mean, I'd like to have one. But they all are only custom jobs, and I use my Shellyak spectrograph to look at that line through another telescope if I want to look at it. And it looks exactly like white light, except it's distortion free. I wish people would make that filter because I think it would be a good seller. I don't know if you can see this on the internet or not, but there's a line across the edge of the disc here that's a little bit darker gray than the rest of the disc. Yeah. And that's called the spicules. And when you have a H alpha scope of 80 millimeters or higher, you tune it until you can see that spicule. And if you can see the spicule line, then that means you have it tuned properly. And that's the side of the chromosphere you're looking at. That's the depth of the chromosphere. Like up here is a good example of it. There's a fairly large rise in the chromosphere, and everything else here is spicules.
Well, I don't use a camera, but I can, with my 60, I can see of course I've got the full aperture 60 double stack, but I can see spicules with it.
Well, then you have a good eye, because most people can't tell the difference in such a small scope. It's still there in any size scope.
Okay.
But most people can't tell the difference between the spicules and the rest of it. But, the longer you look at this wavelength, the more you see.
Yeah.
So what I deal with every day in outreach is people who've never seen it before, and they look in it for 3 seconds and then walk off.
Right.
And you really miss about 90% of what's in there by doing that. All right, so let's move around and find something else. Of course, these will all be processed and put on Facebook later because it's not real until it's on Facebook. Let's see. I'm not going to spend all my time with H alpha because I got 2 other wavelengths to go through.
I was looking at the SDO page just a moment ago, and there's some pretty interesting stuff going on. And especially on there's a huge problem. I think I saw it in the
Really?
gamma
Well,
on
that means we need
it's
to,
kind of on this. I guess it'd be the southeast limb.
that means we probably need to switch over to calcium and look at it,
Yeah,
because the big problem is when they get far away from the disk, they tend to heat up and emit light in shorter wavelengths.
yeah.
So that's what we're going to do. Everybody stand by, and I'm going to unplug all this and go into the calcium scope, which is next door to the H alpha scope. It's currently got an eyepiece in it. And this will be a 6-inch Skywatcher Esprit, which is called a Super APO for some reason. And
Stephen, is a good high-end laptop capable of running 2 cameras at once or not?
yes, a cheap low-end laptop is capable of running 2 cameras at once. Capturing astronomy images requires almost no computer resource. Stacking them requires a great deal of computer resource. But capturing them, you can. This laptop is 7 years old that I'm using right now. 7-year-old Mac with 4 gigs of RAM.
So you theoretically at least could have, say, a nice dual core.
Oh yeah, easily.
And have 3 cameras, have all 3 scopes running at once, and just be able to transit.
Well, I don't know about PCs, but Mac, it's based on the FireWire bandwidth you have available.
Oh,
So
okay.
depending on what other stuff you're using, Macs have a fixed bandwidth that's available for FireWire.
Right.
If you're using it for anything else, then you're eating into the available bandwidth.
Mm.
This is but you could easily run 2 of these cameras on any old Mac. Of course, you'd have to have 2 copies of the software.
Oh, do you? And you can
And
run.
you have to have 2 FireWire ports, which most Macs only have 1 FireWire port. Most MacBooks.
FireWire is a much higher bandwidth than a USB, right?
No, not really. USB 2 has got more bandwidth than FireWire. It's just that FireWire was the Mac standard up until about 3 years ago. Now it's USB 3 and Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
FireWire is just a Mac protocol that was used for most of Mac's life, but now they don't even have FireWire ports anymore. Yeah, I don't see any large prominences. This is calcium, by the way, and the red is just overexposed. Let's see if I can adjust it to look any better. And you got to have a pretty big scope to see prominences in calcium. So you're probably not going to get this from a 40 or 60 millimeter. It's possible.
Is the PST worth it at all?
For outreach, yes. And it's also a great full disk imager.
Yeah.
You're not going to get anything close up out of it unless you take the etalon out and put it into another refractor.
Right.
But for outreach, it's well worth it because it's easy to carry, it's light, it's also cheap. So if you drop it on the ground or run over it with your truck, you're not going to really care.
Yeah.
Okay, so not a lot of prominence activity in calcium.
Yeah.
Let me go way off the disk and see if anything's floating around out there. Because another thing about calcium is if the prom detaches and floats out, you can see it for a good 10 to 12 hours. I've recorded prominences 2 solar diameters away from the disk before. Has anybody considered the fact that you're looking through 80 grand worth of calcium case solar telescope from around the world on the internet with no time delay whatsoever, and we're speaking in real time, and how awesome that technology is?
I think about that all the time.
Being as old as I am, you know, this stuff didn't exist when I was in school, so it always floors me.
Yeah, remember in high school, Stephen, make the turtle move on the computer? You know, those
Basic,
days?
yeah, basic
Yeah.
language. That's funny because that's how I actually got in with Carl Sagan, because I took a college course from Carl Sagan in 1981. And he was a visiting professor to Georgia Southern, and the contest was who could write the coolest program in BASIC on a Commodore 64. And Carl Sagan was teaching my chemistry class at that time, but he was also sponsoring the contest. And I wrote a program that just generated a random number, and if you guessed it, it splashed fireworks. And if you didn't guess it, it just went back and you tried to guess it again. And I won. And it took up about half of a 60-minute cassette tape to record the program.
Yeah.
And that's how I got my autographed copy of Cosmos from Carl Sagan in 1981. He presented it as the prize.
Cool.
I was born in 1981.
Talking together. My first programming class was 1976, the University of California, San Diego, and my final took two 24-inch boxes of punch cards.
Wow.
I used to see my dad bring home punch cards from Standard Oil when he was working there. He was a financial analysis manager. I remember seeing punch cards, thinking that stuff was so cool. My dad actually got to play asteroids on ENIAC in the basement of University of Michigan in 1957.
Cool. Yeah, I like to remind folks what generation invented this stuff, especially when my kids get a little uppity.
Well,
Yeah.
Kinley, how old are you, Kinley? 19?
18.
18. You first started out on Windows 98.
Wow.
I started the Z Spectrum in Commodore 64, but I was also born in 1988.
Oh, you young bucks.
Yeah.
I'd already
Working on
got done fighting in the Cold War before you were born.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm glad to have you, though. It's always good to see young people. Unlike most astronomy clubs, we don't run them off from here. We try to attract young people because the hobby's dying without them. So.
True.
Yeah, we went to the Gilbert Observatory last night, and it was just 4 guys that were really old, and there's no continuity, there's no continuity in any of the astronomy clubs that I could find.
Well, there's a big group from 60 to 80, and then there's a group in the early 20s, but there's hardly anybody in between.
Yeah.
Mark says he used punch cards and graphite pencils in '73 with the ZX81 using BASIC. Well, when I got in the Navy, the surface-to-air missile guidance systems were all written in Fortran.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't say that. I'm probably not allowed to say that, but they probably are using the same shit today. All right, so I'm done with this. Let me bring this down to the surface. Now, if anybody hasn't seen calcium K through a telescope yet, prepare. You're going to love this. Look at the difference in the focus between the surface and the prominences. All right, let me see if I can find a focuser. I've got a hood over my head, so I can't see what I'm doing. There we go. All right. Now this is obviously tilted 90 degrees off, but I'm going to record one video in this manner so it'll match my prominence video, and then I'll orient it properly.
Still looks like an orange.
Well, let's go ahead and put some artificial color on it. This software allows you to colorize the preview image any shade you'd like. So I like to make it realistic when I'm at an outreach event so the kids can see the actual color or something close to it.
So Stephen,
So
with that,
purple.
with the CaK module, do you notice any difference between a cheap doublet and a triplet APO?
Yes, a triplet, and I don't think it's got to do with the lenses as much as the very, very precise focus that's needed. Of course, it's only one wavelength, so a singlet should perform exactly like a triplet. But it's very, very, very thin field of view that's in focus, and with a crappy telescope, it's really hard to keep something focused when it requires that much of a precision focus.
Right.
All right, let me see. What are we going? All right. Okay, so let me take an imaging run here. And this software will preview the image in false color, but record it still in monochrome. And this is monochrome. that you're seeing. It's just, instead of gray scales, it's purple scales.
Steven, I have one question. These black spots, are these sunspots or something else?
These are sunspots, and you're looking at the chromosphere of the sun in calcium K, and the K stands for not potassium. The K stands for the label of the wavelength in the Fraunhofer scale. So this is light produced by calcium in the sun's chromosphere, and the light is produced because energy leaves the photosphere, is absorbed by a calcium atom, and that atom re-emits the light and becomes ionized when it re-emits the light because it also loses an electron. And the bandwidth is actually called calcium 2K because it creates the calcium 2 ion, and it's labeled K on the Fraunhofer scale. Wavelength is 393 nanometers, and it's just outside of the visible light spectrum. So it's very difficult to see visually, but it looks fantastic in a camera. The dark areas are not actually seeing the sunspot, but you're seeing an absence of light being absorbed and emitted by calcium in the chromosphere. But they do outline the sunspots perfectly. So while we're not looking directly at the photosphere, we are looking at a impression of the photosphere that's recorded in calcium K wavelengths. And I can't tell you how many doctorates and NASA people I've heard refer to this wavelength as calcium potassium, and that is not correct. So don't refer to it as calcium potassium unless you want to look really dumb.
Always
That brings me to another good point. Can count on one hand the number of PhDs that I've talked to that even knew what produced this light or what produced the H-alpha light. And when you're at an outreach event, if you listen to what people are telling people when they're looking at the sun, they're usually completely wrong when they're describing what they're looking at. Okay, so this is AR 2494. Is that right, Guy Wells? He says yes. Okay. And that's just a number that NOAA uses to identify the active region. Generally, AR means active region, and generally the sunspot number will be the same as the AR number. So this would be sunspot 2494 probably. And if you notice, they're always in pairs or greater. You hardly ever see one sunspot by itself because they generally group together, and the different sunspots will have different magnetic charges. They'll be alpha, beta, or gamma charged regions.
And AR 2494, we're talking about the lower center, right? Not the lower.
The biggest one.
Okay. So what's the? Is there a name? Is there a number assigned to that lower region?
I'm sure there is, but I don't know what it is. I don't keep up with those very much. And there's also a big group of small spots right up here that's still forming. So let me orient my camera properly and take some more runs, and then we'll get the Barlow out. And Kinley Subers, college freshman, 18-year-old babe Kinley Subers would rather do nothing other than looking at the sun with us on a Sunday.
It's true.
I know her. She is a nerd of nerds.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me get this oriented properly. Stand by. Let's see what that does. You guys wouldn't believe all the equipment that's around me that I can't see, that I have to grab without seeing.
Oh, I've seen it before. You're like an octopus with that hood on, man.
I can't do it in the sunlight because I can't see the laptop screen in the direct sunlight. So in order to adjust something, I have to have the hood over my head and just reach out and feel. Okay, so that looks pretty good.
Why don't you have Easy Up just make you a custom little solar thing, little solar observatory with hoods down the side?
Because observatories are for sissies, man.
Whoa.
You can't take it out and share it. It's for sissy nighttime astronomers.
Wow.
Mobility is
You
key.
remind me of Emerson Fittipaldi in the '70s with the lamb chops. It's the men's men, you know. It's like, oh, can't have that, it's sissy. Can't have that, it's sissy. Man,
Well, you know what they call men without beards, right?
what?
Women. Women.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
That's funny because I just shaved my beard yesterday. But
Oh,
all
you
right,
shaved the
so
beard off?
yeah, it'll grow back in a couple weeks. Me and Rob Black both shaved our beards for whatever reason.
Tell me
No,
you kept.
Rob's effort was much more impressive than yours.
Oh yeah, Rob's beard grows that much in about 4 days. He is a hobbit.
What was
Okay, let's see how many viewers we got on Super Bowl Sunday. 5 viewers. That's about average. That's good. I appreciate it.
Well, doesn't
All
the
right,
Super Bowl come on in hours from now?
I
Yeah.
think
I
so,
didn't
but
know the Super Bowl was today.
yeah, me neither. Until my neighbors came out already drunk, and they're walking down to the bar down the street to go watch
Wait,
something
1
to do with the
o'clock.
Super Bowl.
Well, see, now that's a sissy. Somebody that needs the Super Bowl to get drunk.
Yeah, man. I never needed much reason when I was in the military. All right, so as soon as this one's done running, we'll get the Barlow out and zoom in on AR 2494 while Guy Wells is looking up the numbers for the other 2 ARs. Guy Wells is an awesome dude in the UK, but he doesn't have his mic right now. I wish he did, because a good UK accent always adds spice to the broadcast. That's like when I was on that Australian show yesterday morning. I did 2 different shows, one in New South Wales and one in Queensland, and they absolutely love to listen to Americans talk, especially Southern Americans.
Yeah.
They were just asking me stuff because they wanted to hear me talk. All right, let me get the Barlow out. Everybody hang on.
Uh-oh, we're looking at a black hole now.
That's an extreme close-up of a sunspot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dick
don't quit
Cheney
your day job.
part on a microscope.
All right, I'm going to turn off the false color so I can get it adjusted properly. And at this point, since we're way out of focus, this would be where you would make a flat frame if you were imaging. You would turn your exposure down until you're not saturated, which I'm trying to do. And then if you had any dust bunnies or any crap on your camera lens or optics, this is where you would take your flat frame, which is an unfocused frame of just the illumination of the field. Now, we don't have any dust bunnies, so I'm not going to take a flat frame. So now, let me get in here and focus this thing. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a little bit noisy today for a 3X Barlow, but we'll see what we can do. All right, get my exposure set properly. Oh yeah, man, that looks good. I think that's the proper orientation. I don't remember what the proper orientation is. It doesn't matter. And there we go. Yeah, that's about damn awesome right there. So
Yeah, it looks like you're 180 degrees out, Steve.
I couldn't hear you. What was that?
I said it looks like you're 180 out on the orientation.
180 out, so a vertical flip.
Yeah. Nope. Wrong way. Horizontal.
Horizontal flip.
That's it.
Okay.
I'm looking at the SDO in another window.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So let's center it up. Let's see if we can find. Let's see. There's so much more detail at this resolution. Look at that. All those pores right there. You didn't even see that before.
These white are pores. White surfaces.
No, the white surfaces are actually called plage, which is a French word meaning beach, because they look like beaches. And that's superheated plasma. That's very, very hot plasma in the active region. The small black spots that don't have a penumbra developed around them yet are called pores, P-O-R-E-S, and that is basically a developing sunspot.
Okay. Thank you, Stephen.
Yes, sir. It's my pleasure. So you can see the seeing is a little shaky, but we'll record one here anyway. I'm going to turn the exposure up until I get saturation. That's my neighbor with his leaf blower outside, sorry. All right, so we're going to record one here. Yeah, I live in the middle of a downtown area in Atlanta, and I can't help what happens around me, so this guy's looking right at me and it's obvious I'm talking to somebody through headphones, but I don't think he's putting two and two together that he's disturbing it. Kinley, are you at home?
Leaf blowers cause a temporary drop in IQ.
Yeah,
man. And look at all that movement. That's always interesting to me because the humidity is about 70%, 80% here right now, and you're just looking through water vapor, just like you're underneath the pool trying to read a book.
Yeah.
Well, just a second ago, you had some clouds move through the frame a minute ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was like just for like 2 or 3 seconds, a bunch of wisps of cloud moved through the lower left section of the frame.
Was it not a contrail? Was it a cloud?
It didn't look like a contrail. It was like it was like bands, just 3 bands of cloud moved from lower center to upper left.
Well, generally, when you get seeing like this is really bad seeing right now. It's different temperature air moving through or turbulence. You know, well, this really bad seeing right here directly relates to turbulence in an aircraft if you're flying through that air.
Yeah.
That it might be the fumes from the blower, the gas blower that's being used.
Yeah, that's possible too.
Okay,
so my colleague saw a flyby of the airplane in an ocular. Yeah.
I'm surprised we haven't seen one yet because I live next to the world's busiest airport, about 10 miles north of it, and that's where I worked as an air traffic controller. And generally, every time I set up, I see at least 1 or 2 plane transits. So maybe we'll see one.
Beautiful.
And here's 2 very small pores that are very difficult to see with the turbulence right now. But we'll take a video of these also.
Black spot.
And I have the color turned off, but this color of what we're seeing is 393 nanometers, or violet, just outside of the visible light spectrum. Who am I speaking to, by the way?
Here is Kenan from Sarajevo.
Oh, okay, Kenan, very good.
Yeah.
Kenan is our Bosnian director of the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project.
Yeah, that's me.
He's a big shot.
Thank you.
Kinley, are you staying away from the boys like I told you?
Yes, sir.
That's good. Bad news.
Boys smell really bad.
Yeah, they do. Good. Good thinking.
And they're
Keep that up.
dumb.
And they're
I will.
dumb. Well, you know they're made of, what are they made of? Girls are made of sugar and spice. And boys are made of rat tails and dog poop or something.
Ew. I've never heard that before, but we'll go with it.
Plenty of time for that later. The calcium shows pretty good modeling on the surface here. And these are representations of the granulation in the photosphere. But again, you're not seeing the photosphere, you're just seeing the variations in light emitted from the photosphere as it's absorbed and re-emitted by calcium atoms in the sun's chromosphere. Getting sort of blurry. Let's move over to the other spot and see if we can catch it. There it is. Well, that's a beauty. Real nice. That's AR 2494. Even I know that. I don't need Guy Wells to tell me that. This feature right here, this bright dot, is called an Ellerman bomb. ELLERMAN. And they are visible in very short wavelengths. And they were first observed and recorded by some guy named Ellerman, clearly. But these are not flares. Sometimes you have Ellerman bombs before flares, but it's just magnetic phenomena that are associated with active regions. So that's an Ellerman bomb, which is somewhat unusual to see. Now this seeing is obviously going in and out really badly, but we'll take a video here anyway. Then we'll go catch the other sunspot group to the lower right of the frame. You can see one of the spots now. And the gray area, again, is called the penumbra. And the black area is called the umbra, which means shadow in Spanish. And the reason it's dark is because the plasma is much cooler inside the sunspot. Anything you look at in any telescope, the magnitude of the light indicates the temperature of the material. And so what you have in a sunspot group are thousands of similar polarity magnetic field lines that are all entering the photosphere at the same point. And when you lose the minus to plus charge and you just have either all minus or all plus, you get a cease of energy flow in that area, so it cools down rapidly. And it's also recessed about 500 to 1,000 kilometers. So it's a cool region that's sunken down a little bit because there's no energy flow from one side to the other. And you always see them in pairs. One side will be negative, one side will be positive.
Why does the Ellerman bomb keep saturating? Is that simply because of the brightness of the white? The
Yeah, it's
pixel,
because it's much brighter than everything else. And I'm not letting it saturate much. Hey, man. That's another neighbor with his dog. I could turn the brightness down a couple notches to keep it from saturating, but I'm leaving it the way it is. Okay, let's take another one. I'll turn the brightness down this time so it doesn't saturate. Really, it's the exposure I'm turning down, not the brightness. We are set at 5 milliseconds right now. So 5,000th of a second exposure.
What camera are you using for this, Stephen?
I use the same camera for everything I do, and that's a Point Grey Grasshopper. PGR is the name of the company, Point Grey Research. And this particular camera is a 6 megapixel monochrome Point Grey Grasshopper. I don't do much close-up work. This is not an ideal camera for close-ups because the frame rate is so slow. Right now we're shooting at 7 frames a second. If you want to use high focal length, you're much better off with a much faster frame rate. But most of the stuff I shoot is full disc, and when you're imaging full disc, 1 frame a second is fine. This camera shoots at 7 frames a second.
How much is
it's extremely high resolution.
Stephen, how much is a PGR? How much is one of those?
Well, they have about 20 different models, but this particular camera is $49.95. They have scorpions, grasshoppers, black flies. They're all named after insects, and they start in the $300 to $400 range and go up to about $20,000, depending on how big the chip is.
And this one's a FireWire. Do they have a grasshopper in USB or?
Yeah, they sell it in Ethernet, USB, FireWire, and Lightning.
And this is perfectly adequate for solar white light too, right?
Oh yeah, we're going to change to white light here in just a minute.
Do you think it'd be any good for planetary?
Yeah. Well, I'll take that back. No, it probably wouldn't be, because the frame rate is too small. It's great for lunar, solar. Yo. Hey, Brandon Bird's over here, man. How's it going? I wish I had a chair for you.
That's all right. I just shot you a couple messages, but I knew you were busy with this. So.
Yeah, we're doing a little Google Plus thing. Sorry I didn't answer your messages. Want to hang out? Or? Yeah, man. I've got people on from Bosnia, UK, Arizona, Atlanta, Idaho. Doing a little broadcast.
From Sarajevo.
Sarajevo.
Yeah.
That's my friend Brandon Bird, who's also an outreach person here in Atlanta. He just walked up from the sidewalk. That's how it is in the city, man. You never know who's going to show up. All right, let me move it over here and see if we can get both of these groups in the same image. That's pretty nice. Brandon is a martial arts instructor and all-around cool guy. He provides security at a lot of my events. Okay.
You need security provided? Seriously?
At large astronomy events, you'd be amazed at how many wackos want to come up and get all over you and tell you all their stories. And I don't particularly need security, but it doesn't look good when I beat somebody's ass at an event. It's not good for the charity. Brandon's about a third of my size too, but
Oh, I can just see that. Hang on a second, folks. I gotta pop out somebody.
he and his girlfriends are coming up here to hang out for a few minutes.
Well, Steve,
you got the whole crew. What's that?
I was looking at the DMK41s, the Lunt cells.
Excellent camera.
Is it? Because I mean, I have an original Next Image camera that I've decided is not worth my time anymore.
No, it's good for the Orion Nebula and it's good for planets, but and the only reason I'm using Point Grey is because my software requires a FireWire camera, and that's the only place I can get a FireWire camera. So the DMK41 is what I used when I still used PCs, and I use the DMK51 for full disk imaging, and it is an excellent camera. And I'm the one responsible for making the Mac software that Lunt now offers with it.
Oh, well, that was my next question. Is that it was one of the things I saw there was that they'd have software for my MacBook.
Yeah, they do. In fact, I made that happen because they wanted me to be involved in marketing the camera, but I told them we need to have Mac software if that was the case. So I'm going to mute myself for a couple minutes and talk to my friends that just showed up. And I will be right back with you guys.
Okay.
just have a seat in there and tell them all about what we're looking at. Just make up something. Tell them who you are, and you're taking over 15 minutes.
It fell off. It fell off.
Rebecca, there you go.
Hello?
This is on YouTube, so don't use any bad language.
Hi. I'm staying over for a minute. Right now we're looking at the sun, and there's a lot of spots on it. So everyone just have fun. And it's on YouTube, so say hi. Okay. It's very focused on the sun. It's not looking at Pluto right now. So, thank you. Bye. Yeah. Oh.
If they got any questions, just make up the answer.
Does anyone have a question?
Well,
Hello. Okay, well,
yeah, I know. This line is
you guys can just look at this, and
those images.
I hope it's very exciting for you. Looks very interesting, waving around and stuff.
Not only interesting, but beautiful.
Yeah.
It's real easy.
Well, does anyone have questions about this?
Somewhere. I do that out here all the time.
Stephen Ramsey just told me to make up the answers for it.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
So, are you guys all his friends?
Yeah, this is beautiful. But can you tell Steven just if he can turn on the light, put the color on, the purple color.
I don't know how to do that. Let me get him.
Yeah, Steven knows.
He wants the purple color on.
Too bad. He's getting his money's worth.
Oh. He told me to tell you too bad. You're getting your money's worth. Sorry. Well, I'm going to hand it over to Stephen now. Thank you. Do you want to take over now? I'll be here in a minute. How do I mute it? How do I mute it? You can't? Oh, okay.
You're supposed to sit there and talk to people.
Here's someone else coming.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good, fine. Greetings from Sarajevo.
Steven is not ready to come back yet, so you'll just have to talk to me for a while.
Don't worry, everything is okay. Do you know how to turn the color purple?
Nope. I don't know how to do anything.
Okay. That's okay for Steven.
I'm ruining everything. It fell off my head. He really needs it to be purple. He's desperate. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm imaging also, I'm breaking my screens.
He's breaking his
So I can later, yes, lecture it.
something about electric stereo. Okay, Maria, it's your turn. Oh, okay, good. he has a really thick accent. Hi, Stephen will be on in just a minute. He's coming back soon.
Excellent. Thank you for notification.
You're welcome. Is the sun out where everyone else is?
I'm in Atlanta.
Oh, okay, cool. So then, yes, that would be a yes.
Sorry, everyone. And Kinley, where are you from?
I'm from Atlanta.
Also, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Stephen is back now, everyone. Here he comes. Here he is.
Here comes the sun.
Solar King is back.
Well, thanks for stopping by, guys. Okay, I'm back.
Stephen, can you
Yes.
just turn the purple color just for a
Yes.
second so I can take a screenshot? Because I will
Absolutely.
select it later.
Okay. Stand
Okay,
by.
thank you very much.
I thought you were kidding when you were telling her that. Sorry. Let me get a brighter one. Hold on. Let me get a brighter color. Hang on a minute.
Okay.
Because that's not going to look good.
Fabulous.
No, that's not purple enough. Hang on.
Okay. Thank you, and sorry for bothering you.
No, no, it's my pleasure, man. Whatever you guys want. I mean, I'm just happy that you tuned in. Let's see what we got. Let's try that color. Man,
Are you entering values or picking from a palette?
I'm picking from a palette. Let's try that. Are you doing a screenshot? Let me get it back centered for you. And I will have this movie on YouTube later if you want to use that. There you go. Take your screenshot. All right, now I'm going to put the white light wedge in here after this.
Yay!
And this will be a 6-inch triplet with a Lunt Solar Systems 2-inch white light wedge and a green number 58 Celestron filter. In just a moment. My friend Brandon and his three, one of them was his daughter and the other two were friends. And they're very cool. Brandon is a certified and fully trained guardian angel from New York City, and he lives in Atlanta now and does that at night. And he owns a martial arts studio in the daytime and teaches martial arts. And he also has a solar telescope and a drone. And we
Right up your alley.
Yeah, we hang out all the time. He's about 5'3", 5'4", maybe. Maybe he might weigh 140 pounds soaking wet. But I wouldn't mess with him. All right.
And Stephen, also, how do you track the sun? Is this some kind of go-to mount?
Yes, this is on an Astrophysics, which is a brand of mount. It's a German equatorial mount. And there's two 6-inch refractors on it, so it's a pretty big mount. But really, any mount will do. But the key to this steady tracking is the high node solar guider that I'm using, and it's just like a guide scope at night, except it tracks the sun. So I'm actually using a guide, basically a guide camera for the sun, and that's what keeps it perfectly tracking all the time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's called the high node, HINODE, high node solar guider. I'm going to switch over to white light. Everybody stand by.
Hey, how does the astrophysics compare to, say, a CGM Pro, Google Atlas Pro, or something?
The astrophysics is the finest mount on Earth, and there is absolutely no comparison between any other mount brand and an astrophysics mount. It is a Lamborghini compared to a Volkswagen.
And what's about the same price difference?
This mount was $14,000.
Yeah.
Wow, compared to like 5 or 6 for the, okay.
Yeah, the CGM Pro is $3,800, I think.
Okay, so what model is it you're using?
AP 1200, it's called. But I use the Celestron CGE in outreach, 2 of them.
Because you don't want little kid fingerprints all over your astrophysics.
No, are you kidding? I'd love to have fingerprints all over it. I set it up on the sidewalk all the time. I couldn't care less if some kid comes and jumps on it. But the problem is they require a single power supply per mount. They can't share power supplies. Since I use 3 mounts in my outreach program, not to mention this mount's about 4 times as much weight as the CGE. So I use stuff that's quick and mobile. But I also use the solar guiders on the CGE, so they track perfectly as well.
How much does the high node cost? It's a secondary telescope, right? Secondary, like
no,
a 50
it's not a telescope at all. It's just an electronic box about 6 inches long and about 3 inches wide that sits on top of the telescope, and it has a pinhole on one side, an electronic receiver on the other side, and as the little dot moves from the sun, it corrects it on the mount.
And it plugs into the guider on the mount.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it costs. I think it's about $600. I'm looking for my green filter. I just have a bag of filters. I don't put them in any protective cases or anything. Just pour them out on the ground on the floor. Let's see. I might have given it away to somebody. That's usually what happens to all my stuff. Let's see. Nope. Still looking. Hang tight. It's here somewhere. Did I give it to you, Kinley?
No, sir.
Okay. Let's see.
I don't think so.
It'll be in here somewhere. Blue, yellow, red. Alright, here it is. This is close enough. This is actually a Astronomics light pollution filter, which is basically the same thing. They just charge more money for it. The trick to getting rid of the noise in the atmosphere is just narrowing your bandpass and getting rid of as much of the yellow as you can, because that's where all the noise is.
So you experimented with the wedge and other filters like O3
Yes.
and hydrogen beta?
Yes.
Any luck?
They all improve over no filter, but I got the most improvement from the green.
In the green, okay.
Yeah, let me turn off this light, this color. Okay. Oops. Preferences. I'll be right back with you. I gotta.
Oh, hey, look at you!
Hey, look at me.
Hey, look at you!
Yeah, there you go. There's my thing here. All right, I gotta start the video again.
Kind of have an Elton John going there
Yeah, man.
with the
These
glasses.
yellow glasses help me see the computer screen.
Yeah, you look so different without the beard, man. You look so different without the beard.
All right, so let's. It'll be back in a week. Okay, there we go. Now let me share this screen with you again. Oh, there's a bunch of chat messages here. I'm sorry if I missed somebody's chat. There's Kinley. Hey, Kinley.
Hi! Do you like it? Do you like it? Do you like it?
Like what? Oh yeah, your Dragon. That's the Dragon Con space track, right? Or is that Federation?
Federation.
That's Starfleet Academy, isn't it?
Yes. Outstanding. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let me get this going. Okay, so are people seeing the sun now?
Yes.
Okay.
looks like the rising. Looks like the meatball on a zero.
Let's see here. All right. Oops. Yeah, very small range of exposures. This is. That's crazy. All right, I'm gonna have to. That's funny. This is the shortest exposure I can possibly do on this camera. This is 0.1 milliseconds. And it's still overexposed. So let me get it in focus. Hey, I'm good. That's my other neighbor. Okay, I'm gonna have to make a quick filter change here. Everybody hang tight. Let's see, what's this one? This is a... Alright, let's try this filter. Apparently the light pollution filter wasn't dark enough. So I'll add a second. This is a contrast booster, whatever that is.
Isn't that what a neutral density filter is supposed to do?
You got me, man. I don't do nighttime stuff. I don't know. All right, let's see. Yeah, I guess that would be used for solar also, though, wouldn't it? Neutral density. All right. There's 0.1. Let me focus it again. 0.1 milliseconds. Okay. I'm at a loss without my green number 58 filter. Alright, let's see. Anyway, that's still a pretty good image. I'll turn the gamma down a little bit. Good news is when we get the Barlow out, that'll make it dimmer. So we'll have more play with exposure. Okay. So there's that. And let me go ahead and take an exposure here. This is our sun's photosphere, and if anybody noticed, it's just slightly smaller diameter than the chromosphere in calcium or hydrogen, because the photosphere is the actual, what we call the surface. So this full disk actually fits in the field of view, whereas the other two were slightly, one edge was slightly bigger than the field of view, and that's also because it's winter time and the sun is a lot closer right now. In the summertime from here, all these disks are small enough to fit into the field of view of the camera. So, you know, when at my outreach events, I try to tell the kids, you know, the sun is a lot closer in the wintertime than it is in the summertime. It's about 1 million miles closer. And of course, they don't believe me because it's colder, so I think it must be farther away. But this is proof, you know, in the wintertime, the full disc won't fit on the camera, and in the summertime, it will. I'll go ahead and put some false color on this. This is a false color that I use at outreach events for this particular one. There you go.
Ew, it's green.
Is that green? Let me try yellow. Preferences. I don't know. Let's try that. Very subtle sepia. There you go. It's basically the same as it is without color, but.
Oh, it's the sun from the 1850s in a photograph.
Sepia. All right, I'm gonna.
I've been saying sepia.
It might be sepia. I don't know. I don't know. If I don't know stuff, I just make it up as I go.
You should know.
I just make it up as I go. I'm an authority, so everybody believes me because I'm an authority.
That works.
Okay. So we'll let this go for another 400 frames, and then I'll try to zoom in. As you can see, the seeing is not nearly as jumpy as it was in the calcium. It's still jumpy, but we'll see. And again, this is the absolute lowest exposure I could possibly get on this camera.
For what it's worth, Stephen, Merriam-Webster says the correct pronunciation is sepia.
Sepia.
Sepia. Who knew?
Like C3PO. I like it.
That was good.
Yeah, I know. Thanks. I'm a pro. All right, let's see. I'll get the Barlow out here in a second, and then that'll be it for this broadcast. Currently 10 minutes until 2 p.m. here on the east coast of the United States. 10 minutes until 5 a.m. Monday in Australia. Rob Black's probably about to wake up. He'll probably chime in any second. All right, I'm going to switch over to the Barlow. Everybody stand by. Okay. Yeah, much darker now. Increase focal length, decrease brightness. Here we go. Now I'm going to check and see if I need to take a flat frame, which I don't. There's no dust bunnies on anything, which is very rare for me. Usually my stuff is littered with dust bunnies. All right, now I'll try to focus it. Let me take a second. All right, I got to get out a little bit more extension here. Everybody hang on. I have my Skywatcher cut, my tube cut 4 inches shorter than normal so I can fit all this bulky stuff into it. but I don't have enough back focus to focus right now, so I'm going to pull everything out a little bit. Let's see what we got. See if that helped. There it is. We're going to light this.
Nice.
Man, that is awesome. Look at that granulation.
Is that a 2x or a 3x?
This is a 3X Barlow Celestron, crappy 3X Barlow. Alright, so let's do some adjusting. I'm going to turn off the false color. I only use that in outreach events. Alright, and do that. This. Man, that is awesome. Holy cow. There you go. Alright, so let's try to find a big sunspot. Boom. Yeah, I need to rotate the camera probably. But we'll leave it like that. And there you go. That's what white light wedge 3X Barlow on a 6-inch triplet looks like.
Now, you don't have any kind of solar filter on the other end of the triplet?
No, just a wedge. That's it.
And you're not concerned about the focus light damaging the lenses or anything, or?
No. You don't put any of the you don't put anything in front of the wedge. Everything is behind the wedge.
Right.
So there's no way anything could blow up.
No, but even the primary objective could get damaged, couldn't it? By facing the
No, man,
sun?
just light's passing through it. It's not bouncing around in there. It's just passing through it. There's no heating of the objective or anything. Now, in a reflector, it would melt your primary mirror.
Right.
In a refractor, the light's just passing through it. I mean, just like sitting on the hood of your car.
Yeah.
You know, there's no light being absorbed by the lens. It's just passing through.
How much is a white light wedge? Do you know?
$288 for a 2-inch, $149 for a 1 1/4 inch, and they both perform exactly the same. I wouldn't put a 1 1/4 inch on a 6-inch refractor, but it would be fine for up to a 100mm refractor. So anyway, sunspots, the umbra and the penumbra are much more visible in white light. All this modeling on a surface, these are granules, which are little bubbles of heated plasma that are rising up, releasing their heat and sinking back down. This is called granulation. And any kind of brighter areas that we might see on some of the active regions are called facula. I'll see if I can find some facula for us in a minute. Okay, and you'll see nothing on the edge of the disc because none of the proms or edge features are bright enough to overcome the yellow light from the photosphere. Look at that, man. That is just gorgeous. Oops. All right, this stuff down here, this white around the sunspots, this is what facula looks like through a white light telescope. And facula is just heated areas that are in between the granules, and they're always associated with active regions. Notice the limb darkening here, which is a common feature in observing the sun in white light and also imaging the sun. And the limb darkening you'll always get in white light, and it's because this part of the sun is not facing us, and this part is. So you're getting direct light here, and you're getting less direct light here. So it gets darker as the face or the surface of the sun curves away from us, the observer. We get less and less light from it till it gets out here and goes away. You can also image the moon with a white light wedge really well. And this technology was invented by John Herschel in the late 1880s, William Herschel's son, and that's why it's called the Herschel wedge. And basically, it's just a really crappy mirror. It's you know, in telescopes, they try to make the mirror as efficient as possible in reflecting the light, and a Herschel wedge is trying to make the mirror as least efficient as possible. See you later, Guy. Thanks for tuning in. So the white light wedge is a horribly inefficient mirror that only transmits about 1/10,000th of the light from the sun, and the rest of the light is absorbed by the mirror itself. So on modern wedges, you have a heat sink behind the mirror that dissipates the heat, and when this wedge was invented, there was just a vent in the back of it, and the infrared energy and the heat on the mirror just went out the back. So if you put your hand up to it or stood too close to it, it would burn a hole in your jeans. But now they have heat sinks on them that collects the heat and dissipates it. Let's look around and see what we can find. I have seen a couple of flares or portions of flares in white light before, but it's very, very unusual. It'd have to be an X class or higher to see it in white light. But there's a bunch of different features that can be seen in white light. I'm trying to see if there's anything unusual right now. I bet we'll get some facula up here that's shaped like a circle, like that other thing we saw in H alpha, maybe. Look how complex this region of pores are. This is a good example of facula distributed all around the active region, and then little sunspot pores in here. That's beautiful to me.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm a nerd, but
Very nice.
look at that. It's just fantastic, man. It's just amazing how much is going on the surface of the sun. And, you know, it's responsible for every living thing on this planet existing or ever living. And yet, if I walked over to the bar across the street and asked the Super Bowl patrons to tell me what the sun's made of, I would get 0 correct answers. And if I asked them to tell me how far away is the sun, I would get 0 correct answers. If I asked them to tell me what powers the sun, I would get 0 correct answers. And I would bet my retirement on that, because I've seen almost 400,000 students and explain this to them. And I can count on one hand the number of teachers or students that could answer any of those 3 questions. I know Kinley can answer all 3 of them because she's done outreach events with me before.
Yay, Kenley.
And after this run's over, we'll take a quick run across the disk and see what else we can find. I wish you guys could see it as clearly as I'm seeing it. I don't know. My internet speed is 2 gigabits per second, but you know, if you don't have a real fast internet connection, you're probably getting a reduced resolution version of this. But this granulation is as clear as a bell, and it's absolutely wonderful to look at. You can see from Kinley's face how captivated she is.
Yeah, it's true.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, let's move down the disk and see what we can find. There's some more regions. Those are the pores. Take a video of those 2. These will probably develop into sunspots, maybe, maybe not.
Stephen, has Tamitha Skov ever joined one of these Google Hangouts with you?
I'm not familiar with that name, so I don't think
She's
so.
like the head of the Space Weather Center or something like that. She's this big solar scientist. She's on Twitter.
What's her name?
I think it's Tamitha Skov. I think that's the name that
Oh,
keeps coming in my
yeah.
head.
I know you're talking about. She does the YouTube video about solar weather every week or so.
Yeah, yeah.
No, she's never joined here. She's too important to be involved in this, man. She's busy writing grant requests. She can't be bothered with doing science.
Oh, snap.
That's why I left university. It was more work writing grant requests, and I didn't have time to do science.
That's exactly right. And you know, I just don't worry about it. I mean, my wife and I decided to do this, and we funded it with our own money. We didn't ask anybody for anything, and I know that most people can't do that, but it certainly has saved me a lot of headaches not having to be beholding to anyone or having to get sponsorships from NASA or any colleges or anything. It sure does make life a lot easier. I have very little patience for that whole scenario. All right, we got 100 frames left here, and I appreciate you guys hanging on and watching the broadcast. It makes you feel a lot more appreciated when someone actually tunes in. I can't tell you how many of these I've done where nobody tuned in, except maybe some guy looking for porn or something will check in for 30 seconds.
Oops.
That's not right.
That's wrong. That's just wrong.
That used to happen a lot more on Google Plus until their latest beta version of this, which prevents people from doing that a lot better than it used to. All right, let's scroll down. Get another. Interesting that these features usually line up latitude-wise across the disk. There's usually a band of magnetic activity that goes horizontally across the disk. And they're not usually just scattered randomly on the disk. And there's almost never anything at the poles of the sun. That's pretty awesome, man. I'll take one more run and we'll be done.
So you take these 500 images and you have a program that picks the best ones out of that 500 and then you stack them, right?
Yes. It's just like Registax, but it's built into Astro IIDC. And really 100 images is plenty for this. This camera's got such high resolution that really one image is good enough, but I'm just in a habit of taking 500, and I generally stack about 30 frames. I set it to pick the 30 best frames out of all of them, stack them together, and I'm sure you guys all know this, but the point of stacking the image is that it reduces the noise. It gives you more signal to noise ratio if you stack 30 images together, and you can go a lot further in Photoshop when you're sharpening and processing the image if you stack 30 frames together than if you just try to use one frame, because there's a lot of noise in one frame. But when you combine 600 frames, then you got a lot more signal to deal with. And it's the same exact thing that people do at night when they take long exposure shots of nebula or whatever. It gives you more data, increases the signal to noise ratio. So with the sun, there's plenty of light, so there's no need for long exposure, but you do want to simulate a long period of exposure. So what we're doing is simulating 90 seconds of exposure on the sun, but doing it in 1.3 millisecond chunks in this case. So you'll have 500 1.3 millisecond frames, and you put them all together, and that'll give you about 600 about 90 seconds of exposure time. All right, so that's that. Now, let's see.
Bad seeing's coming back. Big time.
Yeah, that's all right. It's about to go behind the building. Okay. Let's see what we got now. Okay. Sunlight.
So is IDC a Mac program only, or is it Mac and PC?
Astro IIDC is no longer made, and at the time it was made, it was designed specifically for FireWire cameras on
Okay.
a Mac. So you can't buy it anymore, and it can't be copied or anything else. So I bought the rights to use it in perpetuity, but it can't be copied and distributed. So there you go. I wish I could turn off that stupid Steven Ramsden thing. Well, Rob Black made that for me. I don't like it. I don't know. I can't figure it out. Stupid. Oh well, I'll have to live with it. Anyway, listen, I appreciate everybody tuning in. And for those that don't know, it's solarastronomy.org is our main website, and we operate the world's largest astronomy outreach program. It's funded by grassroots donations, blah, blah, blah. We see about 200,000 students in 23 countries yearly, and the entire point of this program is to interest kids between 8 and 14 years old in science and point them towards science so they won't become radicalized or criminalized or get involved in stupid stuff. And it seems to be pretty successful, and that's what we do. So if you want to join us, our Facebook page, Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project, is where most of the action takes place, and we will do whatever we can to help you get involved in this. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. Next time you see me, you'll have a beard, and adios.
Take care, Stephen.
Thank you.
Steve.
Thank you.